Welcome back, peeps, to Purrfect.dev, where we give you cats the freshest dose of dev snacks.
Now with your amazing hosts, Alex Patterson and Brittany Postma. This episode brought to you by Storyblok. Build anything and publish everywhere. Whoa, I left the wrong screen up.
Hello.
Oh, there we go. Starting off good.
Welcome back, Perfect Peeps. If you're watching on Twitch, we have a new setup. I'm hoping will work out for us. If this goes completely badly, we'll have to have Kellen back on again, I guess. Welcome, Kellen. How are you?
Thank you so much. I'm doing great. Enjoying the summer weather. How are you all doing?
Great as well. I have not been enjoying it. I feel like I'm always inside these days, streaming or coding or something. So
Baking.
I did have a good 4th of July. How was your 4th?
It was good. We got invited to a total of 3 parties. One was at my parents' house. They do one each year. One was a friend of ours from high school, and then another one was used to be a neighbor, but they moved a bit further north. We still keep in contact. So at one point, my wife was like, maybe we could swing by all 3 if we're quick enough. And I was like, no, we can't. It's too much. So we kept it to 2. We did 2 parties, and that worked out well. So had a good time.
That's
How
awesome.
about you? Did you have a nice 4th?
Yeah, it was crazy. I meant to bring a video along to show off the fireworks that were happening like almost in my driveway, but like on the road. And
Wow.
it was like intense. I'm like looking around, and my friends are like, "You should water your yard because things are gonna catch on fire." I was like, "Ooh, yeah, I didn't think about that, but yes." So it was really cool. Brittany, you went down south, right?
Yes, so I was driving back from Florida. I drove most of the 4th from Florida to Tennessee and stayed in Tennessee that night. And we saw a few fireworks, and my kids got to try to catch some fireflies. We don't really have them here in Michigan. So I was reliving my childhood with them, like trying to catch lightning bugs and mason jars.
Oh, nice. That's
So
awesome.
it's fun.
Very cool. So Kellen is here to chat with us all about WordPress engine, or is it WPEngine? I can never remember.
WPEngine.
Okay.
It's like
If you want to get technical. So the WordPress name, like there's a trademark associated with that. So any companies in that space, that's why you'll commonly see WP as an abbreviation.
Nice. It's like don't talk
approved.
about the Super Bowl, right?
Yeah, right. The big game.
The big game. Yep.
Exactly.
Nice. Very cool. So WPEngine and FaustJS. Do you want to give us a little background on who you are? I know like we've chatted with you before, but for the folks who don't know you, just kind of how you got started and what are you doing these days?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. So thanks for everybody who's tuning in or watching this after the fact. So my name is Kellen Mace. I used to be in a different industry altogether. I was in healthcare, doing work I really didn't enjoy, and had a super long commute to work and all kinds of stuff. So I was highly motivated. Once I discovered that I really liked coding and building things online, I just had a fire lit under me to like get out of my old position and get into web development. So I was like, I went pretty hardcore for a little while, like nights and weekends, just building sites for like almost no money. I built entire websites for like $200, something like that. Just because at that stage I was just in it for the practice, and the skill building, and I didn't care so much about earning money. I was like, I just need to get up to a certain skill level so that I can change careers. So I did that for a little bit, learning as much as I could. I was very focused in the WordPress space, building WordPress themes and plugins for clients, doing freelance stuff. So I got good enough at that where I was able to finally leave my job I was never really passionate about and finally get into coding, getting into web dev, which I was just thrilled about. So my commute went from 2 hours a day to 0, which was amazing. That change by itself was just amazing. I felt like I gained 2 hours every weekday, which is great for me.
Amazing.
But yeah, I worked for a number of agencies. So like some folks listening may know, like 10up or Web Dev Studios. Those are some like well-known agencies in the WordPress space. So I worked for those and a few other places, a startup at one point. And done a lot of WordPress stuff. And at a certain point, I started getting enamored with technologies like React and GraphQL and these tech that was unlocking like really snappy, nice user experiences. I just saw these single page apps that were just like so lightning fast, thinking like, man, I want to get into that. kind of thing. So at a certain point, I started getting serious about learning like the front end tech, and then the word Jamstack, was being, becoming popularized. And I decided like a good path for me would be to take my this knowledge of WordPress as a platform and a CMS that I had built up, and pair that with this front end tech that I was excited about, and this headless WordPress term was like a new one on the scene that it was gaining more and more adoption and popularity. So that I kind of like settled into that niche. I started a YouTube channel at one point doing like video walkthroughs on teaching people how to do headless WordPress stuff that I had, learned myself the hard way by like digging through docs, because no one was doing content on that stuff at the time. So WPEngine like saw my YouTube channel and reached out, and they said, you have to come work for us. We have a DevRel team. We're doing the same thing that you're doing on your channel, like all the stuff you're trying to teach. That's the stuff we're trying to teach, and made me an offer I couldn't refuse. So I jumped ship and came on board. Yeah. So it's been wonderful. I love working at WPEngine, and it is a good fit because we have a product called Atlas, which is specific to headless WordPress hosting. So in the same, play with the same company, and with a single, from a single dashboard and all that stuff, you can manage both like your WordPress backend and your Node.js based front end, and the two are just connected to one another. Whereas in the past, it was more common to like host those things to different places and so on.
Oh, that is nice.
So that is interesting.
Yeah,
that's really cool.
Yeah, so that product to support, and our team as of the last several months now, we've expanded a bit to cover also the traditional WordPress side of the house, and some of the folks using WordPress as a monolithic CMS, and taking advantage of some of its new features like full site editing and so on. Another part of our team handles that, like catering to folks using WordPress in that way. So that's the story.
That's cool. So this may or may not go well because I don't know enough about it, but we also had Jason Ball on, and he has WPGraphQL. Is that a competitor, or is that in the same vein, or what does that look like?
No, far from a competitor. In fact, Jason works at WPEngine as well. Maybe you knew that already.
I did. I was trying to like softball it, but it didn't work.
Softball question. Yeah, so this is a cool story. So Jason saw this new technology that's coming out, GraphQL, and he thought, it would be a great fit for that is WordPress, turning it into this API. The REST API existed, but he just really liked a lot of aspects of GraphQL. So he started this open source project and has been just diligently, and tirelessly maintaining it for years now. So WPEngine, at one point he went to work for Gatsby, and they were kind of funding its development. And then a little bit later on, he switched companies. So now WPEngine is sponsoring the full-time development of WPGraphQL, and it's kind of the preferred API for all the headless WordPress stuff that WPEngine does. Yeah, Jason's great though. He's so I can't speak highly enough of Jason. Like anybody who's getting into that headless WordPress space or has questions or whatever else, he's just like always willing to help, and
he's a great guy.
And
he was awesome to have on the pod for sure. His perfect pick was Flywheel, which I really appreciated because that was something I was messing around with for quite a while. So
nice.
Cool. So before we kind of go a little further into the demo and stuff like that, some people on I almost said Twitter, on Twitch, you may have noticed we have kind of a different layout going on today. So we're actually streaming from OBS, my OBS. We've dumped StreamYard into OBS, so you'll still see your chat. Unfortunately, like unless you're watching on Twitch, Kellen, or whatever, you're probably not seeing this. But I want to give you a perfect command. Let's see if this works. I hope. I've been working hard on it.
Dump them. Come on.
There it goes.
Did it work?
It did, but I'm having an issue where it won't replay my GIF, however you say it.
Okay. I just kind of saw it pop up because we have to have Twitch on the side. So that's one of the downsides to doing it this way, by the way. If you're a streamer and want to do that, is the people on the stream with you cannot see that stuff unless they're watching Twitch, and it is 20 seconds behind.
Yes, that's true. Here, let me refresh the browser one time.
I thought you were dumping the emojis, the AJ and Casey
Yeah,
emojis.
so we can do that too. Let's do that real quick. So once you're a tier 1 member, I know this sounds like a stupid sales pitch, but it's more just to have fun with this stuff. You can start to use our emojis like this, and they will fall from the sky and bounce around on stuff. So some fun. We're gonna add more stuff like polls and things like that, so like we can interact throughout the episodes. So definitely check that out. I'm gonna give Kellen one more yes and see if this works. Yes, there it goes. Sweet. So
Nice. I heard it that time.
some things are
Yep.
working. We still have some other weird things to sort out, like the videos stopping like that. So we'll get there.
Nice.
Okay. So I think with all of that said, and the other bad part is I don't know how long we've been going, because StreamYard usually gives me a countdown on these things.
Oh, we're about 15 minutes in. Do you want to do an ad break and then we'll kind of go over?
Look at
Yes.
that. She knows my
Transition.
routine. So we're gonna go do our ad, and then we'll be right back.
We know that creating content can be a tedious balancing act. Developers want flexibility to make seamless digital experiences, while content teams need the tools to work independently. We make changes and are left to watch everything fall apart. We met our limits using plugin after plugin and waiting weeks for edits. All for this. We knew it was time to rebuild the blocks. Storyblok gives marketers creative control and use a visual editor to actually see what they're doing. And developers are no longer restrained to a set of technology. Storyblok has made it simple for each market with localization and personalization tools, and allows you to publish content on all channels and all devices. Truthfully, we all wanted the same thing: to deliver the right information to the right destination at the right time.
I feel like I'm still dancing around.
Like we're always like bouncing in the background.
Yeah.
Such good music.
I know it's some fun music for sure. Okay, so let's break into it if you're ready, Kellen. You have a little demo for us.
I do, yeah. Before we dive in, maybe we could just introduce like what this framework I'm going to talk about.
Oh my gosh,
even is called
that would
Faust.
be so much better.
Yeah.
Let's do that first.
I'm glad you're into it. So for anybody watching the stream here or the video recording afterward, WPEngine is trying to make it as easy as possible to do this headless WordPress thing. When I got started with it, there were a lot of pain points. As soon as you decouple your front end that does all the rendering, using something like React or Svelte or Vue from your back end, some things you just lose. So WordPress out of the box, you get authentication and you get post previews. If somebody has like typed up a draft blog post and they want to see what that would look like before it's actually published, you get that for free. Form submissions, other things are just easy. You don't have to think twice about them. But once you go decoupled, some of those things you have to re-implement. You lose post previews and auth and stuff like that. Which this is all doable, right? But for when I got started, a lot of it was just like done by hand. It was me writing, a bunch of boilerplate code across projects to wire up the same kind of post preview stuff that you get for free in WordPress. So WPEngine, like my team and others, within WPEngine, our mission has been like, let's break all those barriers down to make it as easy as traditional WordPress. We shouldn't lose any functionality, certainly, by choosing this architecture. So one of the things in that vein, or to that end, was the creation of this framework called FaustJS. And this is a point in the show when everyone's going to roll their eyes and go, another JavaScript framework. What are they thinking? There are too many, right? And I'm with you. But this one is, you can think of it as taking Next.js, which many listeners are probably very familiar with, super popular React-based framework. It's like taking Next.js and then layering on top of it some conveniences so that you get out of the box authentication.
Wait, what's Next.js?
Reviews, easy data fetching, stuff like that.
I'm just kidding.
We can go there. Anybody who doesn't know, if you're listening, you can just Google Next.js. You'll find out real quick what that is. It's a JavaScript framework that it really popularized doing server-side rendering in the React world. That was kind of its claim to fame. And since then, now you can render static pages and all kinds of
You can do
fancy edge
hybrid, any
functions,
kind, yeah.
all kinds of stuff. Yeah. So Faust that Brittany's showing on screen here. Yeah, basically, it takes Next, but the layers on top of it, a lot of the code that you don't want to write by hand. Like I said, authentication, post previews, really convenient React hooks for like fetching data. All that stuff is just there, so you don't have to build those things yourself, which is huge. So I can do a demo of like what this looks like, and
It's
we'll dive in.
built on
Yeah, Brittany?
top of Next.js and React. So is this kind of like a Redwood JS sort of, where it like kind of incorporates all the full stack things for you out of the box?
Let's think about that.
Like, because it says it integrates the headless WordPress stuff, the GraphQL API, which is kind of what Redwood does, and integrates with React on the front end. So it's the
Right.
full stack stuff. Kind of does the same thing, I think.
Yeah, there are similarities there. I think of Redwood and Blitz.js, those projects in a similar space where they're trying to be like a single code base, that is both the front end and the back end, and make it take like a Ruby on Rails or Laravel kind of experience, but bring it to JavaScript. I think is what they're trying to do. So yeah, there's some similarities there, like the GraphQL API, but this is more. I view it more as making these two separate pieces work really well together, like the CMS, on the background of WordPress, which many like marketing teams and content creators just love. Like they have workflows in WordPress, have been using it for years. They love the way it works. They want to keep their preferred CMS, but for technical reasons or due to like developer skill reasons, maybe the preferred way to do the front end render the app is to have a decoupled JavaScript front end. So if you're choosing that decoupled architecture, Faust is like, we're gonna give you a huge head start. That's kind of the way I think of it.
Nice.
Doing the decoupled setup. So yeah, we'll go through Faust, and if there's time too, we can go through another thing as well called Atlas Content Modeler. So this is really similar to like those on the stream. If you're familiar at all with other modern headless CMSs like Contentful or Sanity or Prismic, many of them have this concept of creating content models. So you can create a content model called like artist or something like that, and that the artist can have like first name, last name, a number of fields associated with that that piece of content, and then you can go ahead and query for that, and render it in your application. So the plugin, if we have time to get there, Atlas Content Modeler brings that whole thing to WordPress. You can, with a couple of clicks, like create new models, assign fields to them, and as soon as you save it, all that data is already in the GraphQL API. You can just start querying for it. It's a really slick experience.
That's really cool. Yeah, that's a good overview. I think if you're ready, let's dive in.
Dive on in. All right, cool. Well, let's do it.
In the meantime, I'm going to give you a perfect. No, you're perfect.
Why, thank you.
I'm going to get like even cheesier on this podcast.
I'm going to do dad jokes. Just wait.
So let's see. I was hoping for a portion of screen option, but there's only whole screen or window. Is that right?
Yeah, I don't think there's a portion, but the window, if you're just coding, would work.
Yeah, if you're staying in VS Code, but if you have to do different applications, that might not work.
Okay. Well, I might just trade off. We'll make it work. All right. Can you see this browser window here?
Absolutely.
Yes.
I think so. Okay. Yeah, I'll just lead people through, like, if you're curious about what this looks like in practice. This is kind of how it works. So if you go to WPEngine, we have this is called the user portal area right here. If you have a paid account, you can get here, or even you can do it for free. Atlas right now just has a free, they're called sandbox accounts. So if you want to try this for free, like, you could just create a free sandbox account. If you could just go to WPEngine.com/Atlas. But either way, you'll end up here. If you just click like the Atlas tab on the side and go to create app, you have two options at this point. You can pull from a repo. So if you had cloned down FaustJS and like created an app already that you want to deploy in the platform, you could choose this option. Otherwise, we have this really cool one I think people might be interested in here. Start with a blueprint. So this is like, you can picture this as a fully finished headless WordPress site. So both the back end, all the content models I mentioned, all the database values, everything has been pre-populated and built for you. And the front end application has been built already to consume that. So it's like a full-blown application. So this could be a good starting point for you, or if you just want to see an example of a finished app to kind of reverse engineer and see how things work, it's really good for that too. So I'll do that. I'll go to start with a blueprint. We'll go to continue. And we have 3 at the moment with plans to add, more in the future. But at this point, you could pick like just a basic site like this, a portfolio site, or a blog site. So for ours, I'll just select one of those, and you can preview each of them or view the code if you want to.
So these are like templates that are already set up for you?
Yep. Yeah, they're full site. Both the front end and the back end, all of it is here. So if you,
nice.
So we'll see what that looks like in a moment. So if you want to start with one of these, you just select it, hit continue, connect to GitHub here, select your own GitHub account, and then just give this a name. So we could do like Purrfect Dev 2. I already created one called Purrfect Dev, so I'll just throw a 2 on there. Select a region and then hit create app. So if you do that, then you'll see like a spinning wheel for the moment while it's building and then deploying 2 things: the WordPress backend, but also the front end Node.js based app that is tied to that, and it'll take care of like setting the environment variables to wire up one so that it pulls from the other, which is super cool. So after you do that and just wait a minute or 2 for the spinning wheel, what you'll end up with is, well, yeah, you'll land on a page like this. I'll just show how it would go. So you land on this. So here's my Purrfect portfolio site that I created just before the stream. Here I had created this. So you land on this page, you can see the Atlas URL. So this is our front end FaustJS app. Is here. You can see it auto generates the URL for you, but you could of course assign your own custom one.
I thought the BP stood for Brittany Postma. What does the BP stand for?
Where's the BP?
Right in front of the Purrfect
here.
port.
Yeah.
It probably does. Let's just give it to her.
Oh, blueprint. Yeah. Blueprint Purrfect.
Blueprint. It's popular.
We can go with Brittany Postma. I love it.
Yeah.
I love that. Yeah, so here you can see both. So here's the linked WordPress environment. So this would be the WordPress backend, and then here's the Atlas URL. This would be the Faust front end. So if you like command click both of these, open in new tabs, you'd see this. So this is the front end site, right? And like a typical single page app, it's like super snappy, as I'm clicking. I was going to say
that's moving really fast.
Yeah, it's just very performant. It's a really nice starting point for somebody who wants to do a portfolio site and like showcase.
Is this static?
Their work. Yeah, most of these pages, yeah, I do use Next.js's get static props.
Okay.
Function, or just require no props because they're static and yeah, are pre-rendered. So yeah, that's why that's so quick. And then if you were to click through to the WordPress backend here, anybody who's used WordPress before, that would be pretty familiar. You just click on like the little WordPress admin and it logs you in via OAuth like that. And here's the familiar WordPress admin. So here, if we poke around a little bit, we can see, as I said, this is a full-blown site. This blueprint we chose, you can see it has like all these dummy blog posts here for us already. If we go into like projects or testimonials, you can see here's like a few of the content models that were created for us, projects and testimonials. Nice. And then content modeler, this is where you could actually change those models or add new ones. So you can see here's projects, here's testimonials. If we click through, here's what was set up for us ahead of time. This blueprint uses these fields, right? But if you wanted to take this and add onto it to say, I'm also a musician, I want to show that on my portfolio. So I'm going to create a new content model called song or something else, assign some custom fields. You can do that as well and render them wherever you want on your front end app.
Just to kind of break that down for a minute, like when you add that, it's going into like my PHP and it's adding it in the database as well as setting up the GraphQL types and an endpoint on the other side as well. And then is it doing anything else in the Next.js side?
It's not. So if all you do is create the content model, yeah, it saves that to the database as you said and exposes it via GraphQL. but you still need to do some work in your front end app. You need to, create a page or modify a page to actually pull that data in. Yep.
Are you hosting? So I think we might have talked beforehand, but the Next.js side is hosted by WPEngine using like a node server on that side.
Yep. Yeah, the Atlas offering that I mentioned, the WPEngine has, that's what it is. It's a node hosting. So
Cool.
yeah, similar to other platforms out there like Netlify or Vercel or render.com, it can accommodate any, Node.js based framework, Vue, React, Next, Svelte, all that good stuff. So one cool thing, if you want to see how this data is exposed, this is one of my favorite parts here. So if we go to GraphQL, this opens the graphical IDE, which is a really powerful way to like compose your queries. So in my front end app, if I wanted to query for some data from the WordPress backend, I can open the query composer here, and because it's GraphQL, it's able to run an introspection query and just tell me all the data that's available here. And you can go ahead and click some boxes and say, I want posts. And for each of those nodes, I want, what do I want? The content and the date the post was written. And how about title?
Well, while you're working through that, I just want to let you know you have a fan that wanted to say hello. So B1, lots of interest.
B1 Mind. Thank you.
B1 Mind has been like all over the streams lately. Thanks for hanging out.
Amazing. Well, thank you. Thanks for tuning in. So I think this is super cool. You can see that as I click these boxes here, it just composes the query for me on the left. So once you've done that, it looks like this is, this is the querying for the type of data that you want. I'm able to click the little play icon there, and it executes this query and returns. It shows me what my front end Faust app or JavaScript app would receive if it were to fire off this same GraphQL request. So this is really powerful for quickly testing out queries and making sure they're returning what you want right here. So that's amazing. Beyond that, though, if I go back to the models, this is one of my favorite parts here. So let's say I've just created this projects model and defined the fields for it, and I've even added a few dummy projects, right here, just so I have some data to work with. Once you've done that, you can come over here and click the little ellipsis icon, and then go to Open in Graphical. This is the magic part. Ready? So click on Open in Graphical. It opens the graphical ID we saw a moment ago, but it pre-populates the whole thing with a project, with a query for projects, and inside of that, all of the fields that I just defined inside of my content model.
Wow.
So you can see this is everything based on the model you created and all the fields you defined. Here's everything that's available to you. So if you click the play icon to test that out, here's all the custom data that is now available to your front end app. So that's cool. It's one of my favorite parts there. So you could grab this, and maybe modify it slightly, add or remove some fields, and then go ahead and make use of that in your front end app, which is super cool. So what do you think so far of the graphical, the IDE there, how you can build your queries, and then the content modeling?
I love this. This is so cool. I feel like this is the powerful part of GraphQL. The only thing I run into in GraphQL, and maybe this is just me, there's no real way, and again, correct me if I'm wrong on this, to do like just ... to give me all of the data, like a select star. Is that possible in here?
Yeah, so there is a trick. So let's go on let's do some exploration.
I like it.
So if I open the graphical IDE, let's wipe this out so that we're starting from a clean slate. And I'll go down to, posts again. So nodes, you're saying you want like all the data in nodes, inside of nodes, right?
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember what this is. So the graphical, which is the JS app that's being embedded here in the WordPress admin, I learned at one point it actually does have a little known feature where you could hold a button, click one of these fields.
Okay.
So that it checks all sub fields there.
But
remember what
like,
that was though. I'm trying Option or Shift and without success. So I can't remember what that was.
I know it's
but if
always
you
like,
actually wanted the GraphQL query, right? You
well,
want
I know like GraphQL folks are like, yeah, it's supposed to not do that. Like you're supposed to define the fields
Yeah.
you want. And I'm
Yeah, you
always
want the
like,
minimum.
yeah, but I'm used to REST. I just want the whole thing. Give me the whole thing.
sometimes you want the whole thing.
The whole thing.
But do you
Yeah.
really want the whole thing?
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's frustrating. Like if you append fields on and you're expecting like them to show up, now all of a sudden it's like, oh, now I gotta update
Yeah.
my front end for those things. So
Right.
it's just one of those little things, you know.
Yep. Yeah. GraphQL does, enforce, explicitness, right? So I think that's why they've made that kind of thing hard to do. I can't just like right click or hover or go or whatever and go select all, because that would just encourage people to go, well, I just need a bunch of this data, so I'll select all the fields, right? And then there would be overfetching the data. So yeah, I think that's why it's discouraged. One thing though, Alex, that I really like to do is, instead of checking these boxes, that's really good if you are unfamiliar with the GraphQL API and what's even available. Then I think these boxes are handy because you can visually see like, what boxes are there and what might have some nested data or whatever. It's a good visual. Once you get more familiar though, like I know this GraphQL API pretty well, so I'm able to, I don't even use the Query Explorer quite often. What I do
Are you
is
able to
control
zoom
space.
this in a little bit?
Good call.
There we go.
There we go. If you use control space in GraphQL, you get autocomplete.
Oh, that's nice.
So this is everything that's available. So a lot of times, when I'm building my queries, it's like, I know I want database ID, I want title, I want desired slug, I want content. This is how I want the featured image and this node, and for node, I want its database ID. When I build my queries, like that's kind of how it goes a bit quicker when you're familiar with the fields. But otherwise, the composer is super handy. So we can take a look at the front end app now. What do y'all think?
Absolutely.
Sounds good.
I want to see how Next.js is pulling this in.
Absolutely. Okay. So the front end repo that was created for us here is Purrfect Portfolio. And anybody who doesn't know this trick, it's amazing. It's only a few months old, but on any GitHub repo, if you just hit the period key, then it opens up the project in VS Code
Is
in the
that
Monaco
free,
editor.
or is it? It's Code Spaces, right? Is it still free?
It's free.
I believe it's free. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I don't
thought
know
they
that
were
they'll
going-
ever not make that free. Honestly.
Really?
Yeah, they better not pull a GitHub Copilot.
Yeah, right. So we can poke around here. So here's the front end project. So if you look at, we just start with pages and index. So that would be just this page here. So you can see it's like image, little call to action thing there. And then we have a grid of latest posts. So let's see what that looks like.
Very similar to our index page.
As our page component. So yeah, welcome to our blueprint. Get started, learn more. So here's that call to action with the buttons inside of it. And then
Latest
here's
posts there.
the posts component where we're pulling in what those posts are. And then you could click through to post to see how that's being done. So the Faust framework, it gives you a lot of things for free. You can see.
Isn't it pulling them in and like get static props in the index file?
Probably. Yeah, let's take a look. So let's scroll down here. Yep. So sure enough, so this would be a statically rendered page. Yeah, we're telling Next.js at build time, get info about the current page being rendered, and then pass through the client they're using to do data fetching. So we have a little helper function here, get next static props, that Faust provides, where you can just wrap it in. You can just wrap it in the Next.js get static props function, pass these things along, and then it magically knows some info about your page. It knows it knows what page that is in WordPress and some info, some data about it. So yeah,
so it's like an in between, a middleware, so to speak, between Next and WordPress.
Right. Yeah. So it allows you to do things like this. So this client you can destructure that and pull out these hooks like use query or use posts. And then for each of those, you can just call them and say, give me the first 10 or however many where the category name is uncategorized, right? Or a specific category or whatever you want. If you call that that hook, it'll just return to you the posts that meet the the criteria, and then you can render your post component and just pass those post nodes through like that so that they show up.
So it does
Cool.
that, and it creates the query under the hood then, because you're not using the query there.
Right. Yeah. So one bit
Interesting.
of magic is it uses GQty.
That's a
That's
great
Either of you heard-
package.
Either of you have heard of? I know what a fun
I haven't
name.
heard of it. That's great.
GQty. So we're actually pivoting away from this. GQty like served us well for a while, but WPEngine announced yesterday publicly that we're creating a new version of the framework, and it'll even get a different name. That's signifies
Oh,
like
it's
what a
going
departure it'll
away.
be. Yeah,
It's
that
so
signifies what a
cute.
departure it'll be from Faust. Well, no, Faust is getting a new name. GQty will remain. This will stay.
Oh, okay.
But it'll just use Apollo client under the hood for its data fetching and other compatibility reasons. The ability to use like Apollo links middleware and stuff like that. But yeah, right now the current version uses GQty, and yeah, we can linger on this if it's interesting to folks. This is a really interesting project where it basically builds the queries for you, just like you said, Brittany. So this requires you to run an introspection query. So if you're using GraphQL, you can run an introspection query and ask GraphQL, hey, tell me all the data that's available and all the types even for each of those. So you can use GraphQL code generator, and it will run an introspection query and get you all the data that's available and even all the TypeScript typings for all that data. And it'll save that in your project. So you can just save it to like a generated types.ts file or whatever. So it'll know all of the types and all of the data available in your back end. So then GQty, what you're able to do is run queries that look like this one we saw. We can just do use query dot some subfield that's in your GraphQL client, and then inside of that pass through some arguments, and it just knows how to compose that query. It knows, oh yeah, there is a field in your GraphQL schema called general settings. I will go ahead and pass through the arguments you told me to, compose the query, and give you back all the fields you asked for. Here they are, and just return it, the data here, which is cool. It's a lot of magic. So instead of having to like explicitly define what the query is,
it is a lot of magic, but it seems like it does a lot of the hard query work for you.
Yeah, it does. Yeah. So one thing I like to relate it to is what Tailwind does for styles, GQty does for GraphQL queries, if that makes sense. So if you think about this for a minute, like many times in component-based frameworks, you see like there's a block of code that's like the component, right? The HTML is to be rendered, and then somewhere else on the page there's the styles. Those two are co-located together, but you still have to type out both separately, right? And then a utility framework like CSS comes along and says, nah, you don't have to do that anymore. You can crunch it down even further and say, here's just the markup, and then inline we're going to specify the styles using these utility classes. So then you're left with one block of code instead of the two. So in my mind, like GQty kind of does that for GraphQL, right? It's like before you had your code here, and then elsewhere on the page you had your GraphQL query explicitly defined. You had to have both of those, and GQty says we're throwing out this one, that explicitly defined query. We're throwing that out. All you have to have is your component, and then inside of that, if you reference the fields in your GraphQL schema like this, using like the hooks we provide, we'll take care of running, of building out and running the queries for you.
That's really
which
cool.
is cool. Yeah, I think it's really cool and really interesting tech. But yeah, for a number of reasons, like Faust, we decided we're pivoting away from it for a few reasons. So there's a blog post about that actually on the Faust site. If anybody wants to know like what's coming next, go to Faust and then go to the blog. We just published the future of Faust. Just yesterday.
Hot take.
Yeah. So this is brand new. Just came out yesterday.
For hot takes.
Just came out yesterday. Yeah. So if you want to read a bit about like the direction things are going, you can check that out. One other super cool thing I want to mention too about the new version that's of the framework that's going to come out is that it uses WordPress's template hierarchy. So Brittany or Alex, are you all familiar with that?
Nothing. I got
I'm talking
nothing on
about?
this one.
All right,
Template
check this
hierarchy.
out. This is as old as the hills here, the template
Whoa.
hierarchy. So this is how WordPress works under the hood. Like
We
when
may need to zoom in if at all possible.
yeah, try it. Let me see if I can.
I don't know if it is.
I think it's going to be weird with the responsiveness of it.
Yeah.
Oh no, it's actually it's
Yeah.
pretty responsive.
I
Is that
don't know.
workable?
Yeah. I think it'll be okay.
Does that help at all? Okay. So basically, this is just a little like chart showing how WordPress determines which PHP file in traditional WordPress to render for a given page.
Oh yes.
So like the request comes in and it asks, what is this thing? Is it an archive page, single page, the front page, whatever? And if the answer is this one, then it asks, is it a single page or a static page? You know, if it's one or the other, it go to the next, whatever. And if you keep answering these questions, yes or no, what you'll end up on one of these blue ones here, either archive.php, single.php. So that's the file that ultimately, you know, is used for the templating and for responding to those requests. So this is really powerful. It allows people to, and if you notice, everything here falls back to a single index.php file. So that means you can, technically speaking, you can build a traditional WordPress theme that has two files in it. It has like an index.php file and just the style.css file. Those are the only files required. And that's it. You can have a whole theme. But if you add additional files, then you can get more granular, right? And say, here's a specific template only for post pages. Here's another specific one for a project page, which is a custom piece of data. Here's another one for this. So the more files you add, WordPress will just use those instead of falling back to index here. So this is another one of those like really nice WordPress conveniences that WPEngine, you know, myself and my colleagues were looking at going, how can we bring this to JavaScript? Because this is really powerful. Would it be possible to have a JavaScript framework like Faust, for example, that does this kind of thing? So would I be able to? Could I have like this front end JavaScript app where I could create a new file called like projects.js, you know, and then it would know that, oh, this file is meant, because this file was dropped inside of the pages directory. The goal of it is to, you know, render up the projects list page, so that it would know what data to fetch and to use that page to render. So that's the thing that the new version of Faust is bringing to the table, which I'm super excited about. So instead of changing, because Alex, earlier you had asked a question about like, well, if I create a content model in the back, does the data automatically show up in my front end, or do I have to make changes? You know, that kind of thing will get easier. Now it's like, if your content creator in the back end said, oh yeah, I created this new content model for songs. Each one is going to have like these fields. Can you update the front end app to show that? You know, you just need to create like songs.js in the right location in the front end code base, and just and then specify like maybe one or two lines in a config file just that are used to wire it up with that particular model, and they'll just start using that file after that point. So it'll allow people to only modify things in their front end code base instead of having to go to the back end and make more changes, if that makes sense.
Would that pull the entire model's data then? Because it's kind of doing that now, right?
So let's think of that. It would make all of that model's data available.
So like where we kind of went through
to pull it out.
When we were looking at like graphical and like defining fields we want and things like that, it's essentially going to fetch all of it, right?
It wouldn't fetch all of it, but it would make it all available. If that makes sense. So yeah, and this is still early days. I feel like I'm talking about it a bit prematurely, since the internal team, like it's like pre-alpha, not even at release yet. We announced it yesterday, so apologize to listeners if I'm saying anything incorrectly, but yeah, that's my understanding of how it will work. You'll just be, so if you're a front end dev, this is very empowering. I think if you're working with WordPress as a backend, it's like, oh yeah, I want to query for a certain type of data. I just drop in a file in the right location and then build my component out, and the data is already being, any data I ask for is already being piped in.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, no need to go to the WordPress backend to change or configure anything. No writing custom PHP, none of that stuff.
Yeah. Keep me
I'm
happy.
excited about that.
That's really
Yeah.
cool. Okay, so we'll probably redo our back end again, Brittany. Just move over to this, I think. It would be
So
like
you got me when we did the original like design to move you off of WordPress.
Yeah, so I think
So what do you got now?
we went from way back in the day. I wrote it in Hugo, and then
Nice.
I wrote a custom Firebase backend.
Ooh.
And then I went and I was getting frustrated because I just wanted, that might have been second. I think I was getting frustrated. And so I just wanted an easy solution, went to WordPress, but I was also doing the WordPress front end. So I didn't like go the headless route, which might have saved me because Brittany, amongst other people, a lot of other people were like, dude, you're teaching front end web development and just using WordPress. This isn't okay. So I was like, okay, like hot minute, like it rewrote it all, wrote a backend and like a custom backend using Firebase. Got frustrated with keeping up bugs on that. And
Oh yeah.
did we do one more before Notion? Wasn't there one more?
Oh, Notion.
Did we?
Oh, Sanity. So
We did Sanity between.
And then finally, just recently, we moved to Notion because we write and keep track of everything in Notion. So we're like, why can't we just run the site on Notion?
And then you tried GitHub for a second.
Cool. We messed around for live coding last week on GitHub just to check out if that was possible because Notion's API is a little strict for if we want to scale it out. But this would be kind of cool because if I could run my own instance of WordPress, that keeps everything super cheap.
You gotta focus.
It does. It does. Yeah. Yeah, and that's one of the perks, that I hear from people in this space. People look around at Contentful, Prismatic, Sanity, Forestry, a lot of these options, and they're like, they're slick and modern and work really nicely, but it's commercial, it's paid, it's commercial, and I'm not really in control of the direction of the project. Like if this company overnight decides we're going to quadruple our rates, or we're ripping out the certain feature, like I'm kind of beholden to any decisions they might want to make. So that's a consideration, right? If we go WordPress, it's like, it's kind of viewed as like this rock solid CMS people have been relying on. It's, some people might think of it as a dinosaur by this point in web standards, but it's still around and super popular for a reason. Like it does content management very well. So if you are looking to do like a super modern Jamstack single page app type thing, it's possible. You can have your cake and eat it too, and like give WordPress to your content people, but also have your front end. So
yeah, I've kind of considered it a few times just in different projects and things, and I love the idea of using the headless piece of it. I feel like I'm often customizing too much in the back end, and I'm not like great PHP developer at all. So maybe I'm just not a PHP developer. And so it's kind of always one of those toss-ups. Like, do you actually go down that road where something like Next.js that serves both backend and front end and could host your data, but isn't necessarily like a CMS? Do you just attach something to that? So it's kind of interesting where this solution blends both worlds really well, it seems like, and it sounds like you're even making it better kind of in the next step of what you're doing too. I'm curious though, can you use this completely off WPEngine's platform? Like, is this openly available?
Yes. Yeah, I'm happy to say, everything demoed today. So Faust, the JavaScript framework built on top of Next, and also Atlas content modeler that I showed for creating our content models, 100% open source. Yeah, you can grab those, clone them down, and host them wherever you like. Likewise, WPGraphQL, which is the plugin we mentioned a couple times. It's that powers the GraphQL API. That's also free and open source.
So theoretically, I could spin up a $5 DigitalOcean and I'm good to go.
You
for
could.
the most part.
Yep, I've done that before. Yeah, I built a several like Gatsby apps that did that. So I had Gatsby hosted at on Netlify at the time, and then I had a $5 DigitalOcean droplet that was just a WordPress instance, and that worked out great. Yeah.
That's really cool. Yeah, I had WordPress running on Cloud Run for a minute, so like totally free, basically. It was awesome.
Oh,
But
Cloud Run. I don't know if you're familiar.
it's a Google product that's essentially like kind of serverless, and so you don't have to pay for a micro instance of it. So then I was back to free
Cool.
WordPress. It was awesome.
Yeah,
Very cool.
There are a few hosts like that in this WordPress space I'm familiar with. Yeah, that
I
will
think
like
you could probably
spin it-
run off
spin it up,
render for free.
manage
Right?
your content. Yeah, run on render. Yeah. Well, I mean, the WordPress backend is PHP. Would they host that?
Maybe I'm wrong. I thought you could
Yeah,
probably get
there's some solutions though that do what you described, where it'll spin up, your content creators make their changes, and it does a static build, and then spins down,
Yeah.
right? Just starts with which is awesome. Unless you need some things, if you want like form submissions to come into your WordPress backend or WebSockets or fancy things like that, then maybe you need it running all the time, but not everyone does. So why pay for it?
So I think on the Cloud Run instance, it actually never goes cold. So it spins all the way down, but it would still take requests and like that, which is cool.
Sweet.
But I haven't messed with it in a minute, so I don't know where that's at still.
Cloud Run.
Awesome. Are we like missing anything? I feel like you did a great demo. I feel like I'm still like sitting here spinning a little bit of, wow, this would be neat and that would be neat. But are there any big things that we missed?
Yeah. Let me take a look.
Brittany has learned a fun new term. Cute. What was our cute one?
Oh, GQty.
GQty.
Yep.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, if we don't have anything else, we can jump into Purrfect Picks. I think.
Yeah, I think we could probably call it. I would just say if any of this stuff sounds interesting, get more more into it, check out developers.wpengine.com. That's where myself and my DevRel team post a bunch of content. So we'll have like screencasts and walkthroughs and stuff on some of the stuff I showed off today on Faust, Atlas Content Modeler, WPGraphQL. We have a new one coming out on Atlas Search, which is a new like high performance search thing for headless WordPress, which is really exciting. Stuff like that. So check that out if you're interested. You can also get a free sandbox as well if you want to check out the Atlas hosting platform.
What was that link one more time?
I dropped it in Notion. It's developers.wpengine.com.
Okay. I'm just going to pop it in Twitch.
Sweet.
That's right.
Well, you are doing that, Kellen. If you would like to talk to us about something you've been working on for your perfect pick.
I would be thrilled. Yeah. All right. For my perfect pick, I choose video mentions, which is made by one of my favorite people. No, just kidding. Made by me.
I was like, is he really going to do this? That's awesome.
No. I'm not that conceited, I promise. No, this is a side project of mine that I think is cool. I'm very biased, however, but you could be the judge for yourself. But basically, like a few months back, I wanted a way to get notified when YouTubers mention certain topics in their YouTube videos, like in the spoken words, So in my line of work, one of those is headless WordPress, or another one is full site editing, which is another popular, term that of great importance to like me and my DevRel team and stuff we do. So I thought, like, surely there's a service out there that does that, would just like notify me. It would grab the YouTube transcript, of all the words said, and just tell me, oh yeah, this word was found that you care about. Here's an email. Here's what was said, whatever. But I looked high and low and like found nothing. Like no one has created that, which is amazing. There's a bunch of social media monitoring tools that will take a look at Twitter, Facebook, or whatever, and like listen for mentions of your brand or your product. Yep. I couldn't find any that support like spoken words on YouTube. So I decided like it'd be cool to build for me to use and maybe other people too. I don't know. So I did that. So I built it at videomentions.com, and you can use it to get notified of your brand, your product, or just any other topics you care about. If you're like a reporter and you're doing a piece on, a certain topic, on the word recession or whatever. You want to know, like, tell me whenever this is being mentioned across CNN, NBC, or whatever. It would just do that. It would like shoot you a little note when that happens.
Do you Sorry. Do you provide the channels you want to listen to though? Because otherwise, like YouTube's like huge.
It is huge. Yeah. So you can't. That's probably the most common question is, can I listen to all of YouTube for mentions of my thing? So the answer is no. YouTube doesn't provide any kind of API for doing that. So you have to know that going in. If you use video mentions, it's like if you're in a particular industry and you would be comfortable selecting like 50, 60, 70, however many channels, and knowing that I'm going to get notified on every single mention across those channels only, then you're good. It'll do that like flawlessly. I've been using it for exactly that
of a
for months.
limitation of YouTube than
yeah. So if that suits your purposes, narrowing it down to like channels in your industry or whatever, then awesome, it'll do the trick. But yeah, I wouldn't do all of YouTube. That doesn't exist, unfortunately.
I need to nerd out for like 2 seconds and talk about what the process looks like here. So you're adding the channels in, and then you're subscribing to when those channels actually post a video, essentially, because that's a thing that they have in their API. You're pulling it from the transcript API, and then you're like on the back end parsing the transcript, essentially, right?
Yeah. And for much of it, I don't even use the YouTube API.
Oh, really?
Actually. Yeah, I had one guy. So I announced this project on Twitter. I was saying, like, here's the thing I think should exist. I want it to exist for me to use. No one's built it. So here's my plan. And I had this tweet thread about what I was going to build. And this one guy I follow and interact with semi often DM'd me on Twitter and said, Kellen, I'm really concerned about your project. Like, I don't think what you're talking about is technically possible. Because in order to check across, if you had like thousands of channels to monitor and you're constantly checking all the videos and all the transcripts, you will have so many requests, like requests over and over and over and over to constantly be checking stuff. You would blow past any maximum like quota amounts that YouTube has very quickly. Like, I don't even think this kind of thing is possible. So I thanked him for his concern. I was like, I think you're right. If I was going to use the API for everything, that'd get very expensive very fast, right? But I told him I was able to put together a proof of concept where I'm using some NPM libraries that they're able to like scrape YouTube's pages, right? Okay. Just get the data from their HTML or their RSS feeds that they have for channels. Using those two things, I'm able to get all the data I need about, like, does this channel have a new video? If so, is it a video? Have I checked it already? And if I haven't, go ahead and check it and look for any matches. If there is one, fire off an email and write a row to the database that, yes, it was checked. Yes, there was a match. An email was sent.
That's cool.
So I did that. So that's why I wired it up. So right now I'm able to check every 15 minutes, every single rule, every single channel, every single, thing that I'm monitoring for every 15 minutes. I check all of them and send any emails and make any updates. This project was fun though. This was my first like fully serverless project. So the backend isn't constantly, there's no backend running if no requests are coming in at all. I can handle a bunch of concurrent requests too. So if like a bunch of checks are happening at the same time, each of them just runs in parallel. So they get done with their work really quickly. I tried out Tailwind for the first time on a real production project to see like what all the fuss is about on this project too. So I get it now. I'm like, all right, I can see the appeal.
Nope. You don't have to run your own utilities. It's fantastic.
Yeah.
Curious, which cloud did you pick?
It's hosted on Vercel and uses their serverless functions.
Oh, really? So it's so all of your functions are even written in Vercel. What's the database then?
Supabase.
Nice. Well done.
Yeah. So
that is a good.
We're not allowed to talk about Supabase though. Sorry.
Oh no.
Sorry. Oh, that's my pick today is about Supabase too.
Oh, perfect lead in.
Yeah, killing me. AppWrite's
well, he just picked something that's hosted on Vercel. So if we can like.
I got all the wrong answers.
Plus, I said not going to fire me for being a part of something.
Plus, I said Tailwind, and I know you all have have moved to open props. So like I'm saying all the
No,
wrong,
we haven't.
Oh,
all the
no.
wrong buzzwords.
I
No, we love
personally use
Tailwind.
open props.
You have, okay.
We use Tailwind on Coding Cat too.
Absolutely love.
I have a
Tailwind,
completely
especially V3.
custom Tailwind set up on Coding Cat Dev. It's all Tailwind,
Oh,
but
gotcha.
it's custom.
Cool.
So for
Cool.
the people that are watching on the Twitch side of things, that wrapper is all written in Tailwind too. So it's
Nice.
all good.
Sweet.
Okay,
so before
well
we-
I've beat up Kellen.
Before we go to Purrfect Picks, I got one more thing. I just love this feature.
We're
If
in
you wanna check it
Purrfect
out.
Picks. It's part
Hit the search at the top if you
Oh, yeah.
would. Well, let me see. I gotta find.
Can you do real names? Can I do like
Channel.
this? Oops. YouTube.com/slee/codingcat.dev.
What
That's
is the
perfect, yeah.
/C for?
WordPress.
So that first field, as soon as
Channel.
it loses focus, it'll grab some data about that channel. You can see it pulls in the picture and
I
stuff.
saw the picture came in
You
quick.
choose a keyword and then whatever date range you want.
I
Try it
want
out. Try out a date range.
probably all time. I don't know when we did our WordPress episode.
right.
Is that going to take a while?
We
if I do all
did
time?
one with Jason Lingstorf. We brought
Hold
him
on.
on. It was like
Hold on a bit.
Jamstack
Shazam! Look at this!
versus
Look at the
WordPress.
speed! Look at the speed!
I
And
don't
then
know
watch,
how WordPress got
watch
mentioned,
the
but
highlights.
this is bananas, dude. I love this.
Check out the highlighted terms there, so you can see every
What?
time WordPress was mentioned.
That is awesome. I'm going
it's
to tell
fast.
everyone about this.
Do it, please do. And then here's my favorite feature of all, though. So seeing them like
I
this
don't even
all
think that's a
highlighted
live site.
is
That's
cool.
weird.
Oh, really?
I don't think this video is like a live video.
Oh, it's
it should.
grabbing private videos?
I don't know. Maybe
It's
it
just
is
scraping.
still.
It's scraping what's on the channel, so it shouldn't be private. My favorite part that I was gonna say is all of these are timestamped. So like find like one of the results, the spoken
Oh,
word matches.
nice.
If you click on it, it'll open a new
Oh.
tab and the video will be
At
queued up
that
to that exact
timestamp.
moment.
That's
Oh, shut
awesome.
up.
Yeah, see?
This is incredible. Nice.
Yeah. So this
Can
is another
you
thing I wanted
get Kellen to
exist
write
with.
something to do our timestamps for us?
Kellen, yes. Can you somehow do that for us?
I'm well practiced now after building this.
Oh,
Now that you're able to like pull transcripts and all that, we just need the transcripts sent through an AI so that they'll do chapters automatically for us.
Oh. That sounds cool.
I
will
wasn't
pay you
gonna
so much
say
money for that.
anything, but I will forget if I don't, and I don't want to call you out. Can you go back to the home screen real quick? Your site looks beautiful, but that button is not accessible.
Thank you. Uh-oh. Which?
The
yellow?
main button, that red text on that yellow button.
Oh, really?
If you change it to your brand color, that navy blue, I think it will be.
Okay.
That's not calling him
Good
out.
call,
That's
good
just a little, hey.
I just wanted to give him some help.
Peace out.
But
That's a good
Maybe
call.
the dark mode. Dark mode's really easy in Tailwind now.
oh yeah. Do we still use, is it Night Wind?
No, that's gone.
No, we stopped using that. Okay.
We have some really broken stuff too, Kellen. Don't worry about it. If you go to our podcast
I'm sure
episodes
we
right
did.
now in dark mode.
Actually,
Yeah.
Ben has like a PR
good.
out to help our ally right now. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
We have some broken stuff apparently.
When it's in night, not like dark mode, light mode, it's all good.
It works. Interesting.
Yeah, that's my fault. I just didn't check it. Anyways, okay. So that's an amazing product. We should take all the notes and put them into Notion, and we'll put that up on the site for sure. We might have to do a whole demo on this now that we've looked at it. I'm sorry. You're gonna have to come back on.
No, I'd be happy to. Yeah, if you want to dig into video mentions, I can go through like what I use for, transactional emails and hosting the front end and cron stuff, because I mentioned I'm checking every 15 minutes. So it's like, how do you do that with serverless?
Right.
So how I'm doing cron, how I'm grabbing the transcripts and parsing those, stuff like that.
And that data was,
you
got the data so fast.
Yeah. So here's one cool thing. So I launched this on Twitter and got my first couple paying customers and some interest in it and stuff like that. And then a couple weeks later, I posted it to Hacker News, like on the Show HN page where people post like new projects they're working on. And it hit the #1 spot that day on Show HN on Hacker News. So the thread is huge. I had tons of people asking me questions about it, which is really fun for me. I got a bunch of like attention and backlinks to the project and things like that day. That was just like I don't know, a couple weeks ago.
Did you
that
put it
that
on
happened.
product hunt yet?
Not yet. I want to do a product hunt next, but yeah, they say you should do some other things first and then product hunt. So I haven't pulled the trigger on that yet.
I did say yet. Like,
Yeah.
do those things first.
I will. I plan to do it. Yeah.
Yeah. Send us the link. We'll upvote that for sure. Awesome. Okay. Brittany, it's your turn, but good luck following that. Like, that was incredible.
Well, I'm going to follow it with more great Kellen content. So we talked about headless WordPress with SvelteKit instead of FaustJS on our Salt Siren stream. And it was a very fun episode. I learned some great stuff. So go check that out. And then the one that must not be named, SvelteKit tutorial with James Q. Quick. Yeah, so go check out James's content. He does a lot of stuff. Y'all know that I love SvelteKit, so anything SvelteKit.
Yeah,
I'm into
Very
it.
cool.
I should have mentioned too during the stream. So the new version of Faust is being built in like layers, so to speak. So it's going to have like a core package with all the functionality, and then a Next.js adapter on top of that. So the implication there is that leaves the door open to SvelteKit, other kind of adapters.
I was mentioning that earlier, that Remix is kind of doing that same thing, and Remix now has Remix routers. Svelte is in the works.
Is that amazing?
Yes.
It's mind-blowing to me. That's so cool.
There's going to be a talk at Svelte Summit about it, and I'm super excited to hear.
That's so cool.
It's really cool. My first pick is probably not as related, but Josh Cameo. I always get that wrong, so I hope that's right. She's already laughing. Did I get it wrong?
Como? I don't.
Como, I think.
I get it wrong too, but
I'm so bad with names.
Como.
Yeah, Como. I got nothing. We're just butchering it worse. Okay, so he has an interactive guide to CSS transitions, which I absolutely love because you can kind of just like type and actually work on these things, but it's super fast with their the code playground that he has set up. So
he's got a lot of like nice custom stuff.
Yeah, I love his, like, we added our sound just because of him. He uses use sound for his hook.
Oh yeah.
We now have that same thing for ours.
And the purring, it gets a little out of control quickly.
That's a different site. We won't show that one.
Oh, I thought it was that one. What sound does it make the clicky sound?
Yeah, just the click. Oh. Okay, we'll show the one she's talking about. So we use it. I use it on my personal.
Oh yeah, that's your theme.
I don't know if you'll be able to hear this, but
I don't think we can hear it, but it purrs on his site.
Yeah, let me turn it up.
Amazing.
I'll try to get close to it. Here you go.
It's aggressive purring.
Amazing.
Oh, Jay's here. Hey,
Alex
Jay.
read Josh Como's post where he's like, make sure it's tasteful and only just a little, like a momentary thing. He's like, cool. I'm gonna do a 6-second roar.
Yeah, it's literally only one per, but it's one per every time you change. So you stack them up.
It keeps playing until it stops. Yeah, our Bubbles did that on the Siren site for a minute.
So hey, if this is helpful at all, I did a project maybe 2 years ago or so where I used use sound. I read that blog post and I was like, this is amazing. I need these sounds in my life. So I built a project and I used them, and I figured out a way to cut for one sound effect to cut the previous one, basically. So if one was playing and then I needed another one to play, it would stop the previous.
I thought his hook had that built in, so I might have to go look at it again. I'm probably doing something wrong.
I did mine with vanilla JavaScript.
Hey, just for the folks out there, if you think things are perfect, you can use the command !perfect, spelled with the correct way.
See what happens when we both do it at the same time.
Oh boy, this could get intense. No, you're perfect.
It only fired once.
I hear it, but really quiet.
Oh no, it fired back to back.
Yeah, it should do them all. It just stacks them, so it's got a.
Jay's got the vanilla JavaScript for you.
Oh yeah, that is true. The whole zero thing.
Yeah, it's just
Jay,
vanilla.
actually, I need your help. Maybe we could sync up because our GIF won't replay itself when you do that whole perfect, or when you do what's our other one? Is it fun play? I don't even remember anymore.
What are you
Oh,
talking
it's
about?
yes. So you can do bang.
Yes, I was like, yes is one.
Yes.
See, my GIF won't play anymore,
Yes.
Jay. I need help.
Yes.
Okay, back to Josh's site. We've completely lost
We
control
have
here.
derailed.
His site's so good. Side note.
So,
I'm on like stream hour 4 here, so
so here's the timeline thing that I was telling you about, or trying to, for the animation piece. I think this is the kind of stuff that really helps people out to understand like what is happening. And this is a fantastic way to do it. So like ease out, this always like I struggled with it. But that kind of like where it shows what ease out is actually doing, where it's fast, 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 and then
it
ease.
eases it
It really
out.
helps like me, because as Brittany, you know, I'm a only visual learner. I swear.
Visual.
I could read that thing 20 times and not understand it. One time I get it with just that simple, oh, okay.
In eases in, out.
And then there's the in out somewhere. There it is. In out. That's the one I use
And
for
it does
everything, I
both.
feel like. Jay's laughing right now if he's still out there.
You want cubic Bezier curves.
Aren't they
That's where the
all-
fun's at.
Aren't they all cubic?
I mean, they are, but you can actually do like custom ones.
I like your use of Bezier.
Yeah,
That was
custom easing.
And then the story of Next.js, fantastic, well put together. I think, yeah, we call it the UI.dev team. I always want to call it the bytes.dev team because
Because that's the
I
newsletter.
feel like I only read the newsletter these days. So incredibly put together. It's really long. I'm sure they spent some time on it, but all about the history and why Next.js is where it is. So
Interesting.
check that out as well. It only has like 319,000. We need to get 500,000 views on that thing. I think that's it. All the picks.
We'll check this out.
I was catching up on.
love these documentaries.
You
Sorry,
love
Brittany, go
what?
ahead. Oh, these documentaries, like the Svelte one that was just done,
Yeah.
and then
Yeah.
Honeypot did a GraphQL one like a year ago or whatever with the
Honeypot
origin
keeps
story
cranking
there.
them out. It's so impressive.
They're
Yep.
so good.
I reached out. So who did the view one? Who did we have on?
Offers in is Stefan
Stefan.
from. He
Yeah.
used to be at Honeypot and then moved
Right.
to Offers in, and they're the ones that did the Vue one and the Laravel one, and now the Svelte.
I felt like
Origins.
Stefan like disappeared for a while, and then wasn't he on? Like he
He
suddenly showed up.
Well, he did. Yeah, he was handling all of that stuff behind the scenes with the release of the documentary, and then now he's kind of back.
Yeah, that was so crazy. It's like he
Yeah.
fell off the world or something. Anyway, Kellen, thanks so much. I really appreciate it. We're way over time, but that's awesome. It doesn't matter because we're having fun, right? So
Exactly.
That's
thank
right.
you, thank you. Let's do, if we don't do another pod on it, let's do some live code. And maybe you could show off how you built your site if you feel comfortable
that
with
would be
that.
really
I
cool.
don't
Oh,
wanna,
I'd love
like,
to.
open up the Pandora's box and show everybody what you did, but
No, I
Sure.
think that would
Yeah, I'd
be
love
great to
to.
come on and promote it when you release it on Product Hunt too.
yeah,
Cool.
that'd be cool.
Well, thanks so much. Thanks for having me today too. It was a blast. I love.
Yeah, I
having me
love
on
what's
too.
going on over there. I can't wait for that like next iteration that's kind of coming through. So that'll be cool.
Yeah.
All right, y'all.
Yep.
We can keep chatting on Twitch, but we're gonna shut the stream down for now.
All right. See ya.
See you
All
guys.
righty. Thanks,
Bye.
everybody.